There are stories that don't just sound mysterious. They sound impossible. Stories that challenge what we understand about reality itself. Stories that leave behind one question. What if everything we know isn't complete? This is one of those stories. It's known as the man from Taured, a man who arrived in our world from a place that shouldn't exist. The story begins in the 1950s at an airport in Japan. A normal day, passengers arriving, flights landing, nothing unusual, until one man stepped forward. He looked ordinary, well-dressed, calm, confident, the kind of person you wouldn't think twice about. But everything changed the moment he handed over his passport. At first glance, nothing seemed wrong. It looked official, properly stamped, used before. But then someone noticed something strange. The country listed on the passport didn't exist. It was called Taured. Officials paused, assuming it might be a misunderstanding, maybe a translation issue, maybe a rare or newly formed country. But when they checked their records, there was nothing, no country by that name, anywhere. That's when they began to question him, at first calmly, asking where Taured was located, expecting a simple explanation. But his response made things even stranger. He seemed confused, not defensive, not nervous, just confused, as if the question itself didn't make sense. He told them Taured had existed for centuries, that it was a real country, a recognized nation. He spoke as if it were common knowledge, something everyone should already know. Officials brought out a map, placed it in front of him, and asked him to point to where Taured was. Without hesitation, he pointed to a location in Europe, an area between France and Spain, the exact place where Andorra exists today. But when they told him that country was called Andorra, not Taured, everything changed. He became frustrated, insistent. He argued that Andorra didn't exist, that the map was wrong, that something had been altered. To him, the world didn't look the way it should. And that's when the situation became serious. Because this wasn't just confusion anymore. Everything about him appeared real. His passport, his documents, his travel stamps. They showed he had been to multiple countries, all verified, all legitimate. He carried different currencies, business papers, identification. Everything matched. Everything made sense. Except one thing. Taured, the country that didn't exist. Officials didn't know what to do. This wasn't a typical case. This wasn't someone lying, because liars usually hesitate. They make mistakes. Their stories fall apart. But this man remained consistent, calm, certain, as if he truly believed everything he was saying, as if his reality was different from everyone else's. So they detained him, not as a criminal, but as a mystery. They needed time to investigate, time to understand what was happening. They placed him in a hotel, under supervision. Guards were stationed outside his room. He was not allowed to leave. They kept his documents. They continued searching, trying to find any trace of Taured, any record, any clue, but nothing appeared. No history, no mention, no evidence that such a place had ever existed. And then something even stranger happened. The next morning, he was gone, not missing, not escaped, gone. The room was still locked. The guards reported no movement. No one had entered. No one had left. There were no signs of forced escape. No open windows. No hidden exits. Nothing. His belongings, gone as well. Everything he had disappeared with him. It was as if he had never been there, as if the entire event had simply erased itself. Officials searched, questioned, investigated, but there was no trace, no record of where he went, no explanation of how he left, no evidence that could explain what happened. And over time, the story faded, not because it was solved, but because it couldn't be explained. And that's what makes this story so unsettling, because it doesn't fit into anything we understand. Some believe it was just a hoax, a fabricated story that grew over time. Others think it may have been a misunderstanding, a mental condition, a mistake. But there are those who believe something else, something far more disturbing, that the man wasn't lying, that He truly came from Taured, a place that exists, just not in our version of reality. A parallel world, a slightly different timeline, where countries have different names, different histories, where everything is almost the same, but not quite. And somehow, for a brief moment, he crossed into ours. And when the connection closed, he disappeared, back to where he belonged, or somewhere else entirely. Because if that's true, then this story isn't just about one man. It's about the possibility that reality isn't fixed, that there may be other versions of the world existing alongside ours, unseen, unreachable, except for rare moments, moments that don't last, moments that leave behind questions and no answers. To this day, no one knows what really happened. No confirmed identity, no records, no proof, just a story, a man, a passport, a country that shouldn't exist, and a disappearance that no one could explain. So the question remains, was he lying? Was it all a mistake? Or did he come from somewhere we're not supposed to know about? Because if he did, then maybe he's not the only one.